One very useful tool in Excel is the data validation tool. It allows you to set ranges or limits to the ranges of data that can be entered into a particular group of cells. Uh, One very good example of how this can be useful is you have some field data that's been recorded in the field by a person in a field book and now needs to be transcribed into a spreadsheet. So there is a point for human error to come in. Now, a good way we can do this is to actually set ranges. To do this, you go to the data and then to the data validation. Let's look at pH first. We know pH can be higher than 14, but by the same token, we also know that most sites the range is smaller than that. So for pH, let's go to the settings. Let's go to a decimal because we want to be able to enter a 7.23. But let's do a range. Let's say on this particular site that typically you don't see a pH less than 5. You looked at your historical data, the lowest number you saw was a 5.36. So we're going to enter 5. And by the same token, let's say the highest one you ever saw was an 8.9. So let's say a maximum of 9. On the error, let's change it to say, instead of actually stopping them, that it warns them. Because maybe there's something that's happened and the pHs have changed. So we'll call this one pH. And for our error, we'll say pH is normally between 5 and 9. And we click OK. Now if we go over here to pH and we enter a 7.62, we're fine. But let's say I've got a 456. We get an error. It says pH is normally. Do you want to continue? Yes or no? Let's say they actually looked in their field book and it's like, well, that's what's actually written down. The pH readings before that were below 5. I believe this is a legitimate number. We hit yes. So it stays there. Now another thing you can do is actually have a list to pick from. A short list like quarters. Go to data, settings, list. You type your list and you put a comma between each one. No spaces. So we got 1 comma, 2 comma, 3 comma, 4. Error message. Well, not really much of a message. So we'll just put that. Now we get this pull down box. We see our quarters. So let's say this is the second one. Let's say it's April 15th, 2011. Now another thing we can do is from our list, if you have a longer list, so you don't feel like typing in that little box, you already have it down somewhere, you can actually put in another area. You can highlight it. For example, here I have my wells. A good example here too is, maybe I put my MW1 as MW01. You put yours as MW-1. Somebody else just puts it as MW1. These will show up as different entries in the spreadsheet in our database. So we want to keep it very uniform. So let's highlight these. We go up here to the name box. And we're going to call these well underscore IDs. We go back to our data. We select our column. Again, data validation, settings, list. Now we type equals well underscore IDs. Okay. Now, if I start typing, it starts. There it is. Or I can hit my little pull down box. Also, a nice thing about it, if you have some wells that have been, abandoned, that aren't on the site anymore. If you notice that list, it ended at MW5 and then jumped to MW10. Well, let's see if I try to put MW6. It comes up an error. Let me retry. Oh, I looked at it wrong. It's actually MW5. So those are just some useful little tools you can do. I'll put some links to some other web pages with more information about this, and I hope you find it useful. Have a good day.